So what does it actually mean to be human? I mean, it's one of the biggest questions there is. Today, we're going to dive into a really powerful and maybe even surprising answer that comes from a group of Christian thinkers way back in ancient Alexandria. And let me tell you, they had this radical idea that pretty much flips our whole modern perspective on its head.
See, they started with this really provocative question. What if we've been looking in the wrong place? Forget all the modern advice about looking inward to find yourself. They argued that to truly understand who we are, we have to first look outward, specifically by understanding humanity through the lens of the Son of God. It's a totally different starting point for what it means to be a person.
All right, so to really get their vision, we have to start with their original blueprint for humanity. And the whole thing hinges on this really important distinction they made between two key concepts, the image and the likeness.
What these thinkers did was brilliant. They separated our being from our becoming. They called our starting point the image. That's icon in Greek. This is the stuff we're all born with. It's our fundamental nature, a pure gift. But then there's our destination, which they call the likeness, or homeosis. And that, well, that's not a gift. That's a goal. It's the perfected potential we're supposed to grow into. So one is where we start, the other is where we're meant to end up. Now, if we want to get a little philosophical for a second, the image is what we'd call ontological. It's about our core being, our essence. But the likeness is teleological. It's all about our ultimate purpose, our goal. So, to put it simply, we are the image, but we're called to become the likeness.
So this frames our whole life as this amazing dynamic journey. It's a two-step process, really. Step 1, you're born, and you receive the image of God. Simple enough. Step 2, you spend the rest of your life becoming. You're always progressing toward that likeness by practicing virtue. For them, being human wasn't some static thing. No, it was a project.
Okay, so that leads to the obvious next question, right? What exactly is this image that we're all born with? What parts of us did these thinkers believe actually mirror the divine?
They basically boiled it down to 5 key things. Now, at the very top of the list, the one that was often seen as the big one was reason and intelligence. This is what separated us from what they called the irrational beasts, but just as crucial were things like our free will and moral agency, our ability to love and be in relationship, our role as caretakers or rulers over creation, and of course, having an immortal soul.
But, as you probably know, the story doesn't just end with this beautiful blueprint. There was let's call it a catastrophic system failure. An event that completely corrupted this original design. They called it the fall, and boy, were the consequences just devastating. I mean, just look at the damage report here. Human nature, which was designed to be stable and immortal, became corruptible and mortal. Our freedom, our ability to choose the good, it just crumbled into a kind of slavery to our own passions and desires. And that intimate relationship with God, gone, replaced by a deep sense of alienation.
This quote really sums it up. The image wasn't completely destroyed, and that's a super important point. But it was, as they said, marred so badly that only traces of it remained. Think of it like a beautiful portrait that someone has just vandalized. You can still see what it was, but it's deeply corrupted.
But here is the real kicker. While the image was just badly damaged, the likeness, that ultimate goal, our whole purpose, was completely lost. The path to perfection just vanished. Humanity was left to drift, with a broken compass and no map to get home.
So yeah, things look pretty bleak. And this sets the stage for the real climax of their story, the divine fix. If humanity is broken and can't repair itself, how could that original blueprint ever be restored? This is where their whole Christ-centered view of humanity becomes absolutely central.
Their entire solution starts right here. They argued that the Son of God is the true, the perfect, the unmarred image of the Father. He's the original blueprint that humanity was based on in the first place.
So this raises a fascinating question, doesn't it? If he's the perfect original image, what does that make the rest of us with our corrupted, vandalized version?
And here is their absolutely mind-bending answer. We are the image of the image. Get that? Our humanity isn't a direct reflection of God the Father, it's a reflection of the Son, who is himself the perfect reflection. It's like a copy of a masterpiece. The Son is the masterpiece. We're the damaged copies in desperate need of restoration.
So how does that restoration actually happen? This beautiful phrase just captures it all. By the Son taking on our humanity, he makes it possible for us to take on his divinity. We become, by adoption, what he is by nature. It's like we're invited back into the family.
to once again share in the family likeness. And this all leads to the ultimate goal of the whole cosmic drama, a concept they called deification or theosis. This was the grand purpose of the whole divine fix. As they famously put it, the Son became human in order to make humans divine. Not that we become God, of course, but that we get to participate in His divine life.
Okay, so what does all of this high-level theology actually mean for us, in our daily lives? What's the big takeaway from this ancient worldview? Well, it fundamentally reframes what it means to be human, seeing it not as something you are, but as something you do, a lifelong project.
Yeah, the main point is this. You don't just arrive at being fully human. You're not a finished product. It's a journey of restoration. It's this dynamic, lifelong process of being renewed, of having that marred image within you slowly but surely restored to its original glory.
And they laid out a pretty practical path for this. It wasn't just wishful thinking. It involved a lifelong effort of healing, of breaking free from the tyranny of our disordered passions. It required actively practicing virtue and trying to imitate the life of Christ. And it was all fueled by participation in the divine life, especially through the community and sacraments of the Church.
This quote from Clement of Alexandria just nails it. For him, being truly human wasn't about status or power or even self-discovery. It was about moral and spiritual health. It was about being virtuous and free from that internal slavery to our own desires.
And that leaves us with a final, really challenging question. Our world today is totally obsessed with finding yourself. But what if this ancient perspective is right? What if being human isn't about discovering some static self that's already in there, but about embarking on a lifelong project of allowing yourself to be remade into the image of someone greater?